السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. We begin in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Peace and blessings be upon his family, upon his companions, upon all of us who are here and all those who follow him until the end of time. Brothers and sisters, all praises and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us the opportunity once again to come back to the masjid and to make prayers and to call upon him, which is to make dua and to make that sujood once again in the masjid. So we should be happy and we should rejoice in coming back to the masjid, and we should continuously try our best to connect ourselves to the masjid, not just on Fridays, but throughout the 5 daily prayers and throughout different activities that might be held, inshallah, in the coming weeks or months, inshallah. We should connect ourselves to the masjid. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us different types of tests. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us different hurdles in our pathway to test our iman, to test our faith, to test how much love we have for Him, to test how strong we are, and how strong is our mettle, M-E-T-T-L-E, our inner mettle, when we face these tests, whether we face them alone or we face them as an ummah. As an ummah, we are facing COVID-19. As an ummah, we are facing many different challenges, such as giving proper education to the youth and raising the youth from the depths of darkness, and raising ourselves from darkness that might be within ourselves. And I thought about this within myself and started to think about my Islam, my Iman, me being a Muslim. And there is a very popular hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ gave advice to this companion, Sufyan bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and he said, I asked God Messenger, tell me something in Islam that I will not ask anyone or anybody but you about. And the Prophet ﷺ, he replied by saying, say I believe in Allah. Say I believe in Allah and be straight and be steadfast. So the Prophet ﷺ gave this very simple advice to his companion about believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being straight, being steadfast in Islam. This is important for us to think about because our Islam, our Iman has been tested throughout COVID, and it's going to be tested because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا, that you're going to say, La ilaha illallah, you're going to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to test your faith. So there are different things that happen or that takes place in our lives that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests our iman, tests our faith in Him. My brothers and sisters, COVID was one of those things that tested our faith, tested our iman, because many of us, we were worried about the masjid. Many of us, we were worried about coming and praying in the masjid. And many of us were worried because if we did not have that connection with the masjid, perhaps there will be people in the community who might become lost because of that. And so we rushed to bring the platform online and rushed to give knowledge, to give information about Islam online, and so that people can be connected to that. But there is something far important than even this that we have to consider. And that, my brothers and sisters, is ourselves. We have to dig within ourselves and to see where do we lie in terms of our iman. How strong is our faith in terms with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because Allah will give us COVID. What if Allah gives us something else next year? What if something else happens after that? Many people have lost their jobs, and many people are finding it very hard to come back. And many people are finding it hard to come back and to connect with the masjid. And many young people are finding it very difficult to connect with the masjid because the masjid is not connecting with them. And many people from different backgrounds, who are from different ethnicities, they're finding it hard to connect with the masjid because the masjid does not cater to their needs. So this is a greater, a far important aspect that we need to think about. Now, this hadith tells us something comprehensive, something that is clear, and that doesn't require an explanation. The fact that the companion came to the Prophet ﷺ to ask this question, it was meant for us. Because the companion, he wanted to understand something that didn't require much explanation, that didn't require much, thinking. And this short statement encompasses the entire meaning of Islam and faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Hud also, فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ. So when things happen in our lives, we have to be straight. And we're going to talk about what does that mean to be straight. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in other words, is asking the companion to do a couple of things. And what are these couple of things? And this is what we need to do, my brothers and sisters, which is to renew our Islam, to renew our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we have Ramadan. And after Ramadan, if we didn't continue with the good deeds, it's a problem. It's an indication that there's something wrong within. There's something wrong deep down inside ourselves. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling this companion that you need to renew your faith. You need to renew your understanding in terms of words and deeds, in terms of what we say, in terms of how we act. And this hadith highlights performance, highlights righteous deeds that we have to do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And fastaqim means that you avoid all the different types of transgression and all the different types of sins. How can you be on the right path? How can we be on the straight path? How can we be straight if we ourselves transgress the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Whenever a calamity, whenever something happens, it's because that we have transgressed the boundaries. We have left Islam. We have left what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted from us. And being straight here, it means to leave all crookedness. Now, you don't need me to explain to you what are the different crooked things that we do in our lives, and what are the different crooked ways that we behave with our family members, or we behave with one another, or we behave when we are in our jobs. You don't need me to explain. One simple example is when you go to the stores, you'll see how they jacked up the prices. Now, I know there are people who are listening online and who are listening here who have different businesses, and they jacked up the prices because they want to take benefit. And all they do is they think about themselves. That's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's telling us that we have to think again. We have to think about our iman. We have to think about the testification of faith when we say La ilaha illallah. What does that mean to you? And if it means anything, what are you doing to prove yourself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You don't need to prove to me, you don't need to prove to the community, you don't need to prove to anyone in your family, you have to prove to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The scholars, they say, straightness is a measurement of the perfection of all matters. So if you are neglectful in certain matters in your life, in certain matters that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be straight about, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to really focus on, then you have to change yourself. You have to reform yourself. And this is for myself. And this is why I'm giving this reflection. It's for myself before anyone else. Because I have to think about my Islam. I have to think about where do I fit into all of this. Did my iman increase because of the calamity, because of Ramadan? Or did my iman decrease because of COVID and because of Ramadan? And because Ramadan left? Am I a Ramadani or am I a Rabbani? Which one is it? And I have to choose for myself. And I have to think. And I have to ask myself. Why do I have to ask myself? Because I will be the one in front of Allah answering those questions. I will be the one in front of Allah trying to find excuses. in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will be the one suffering because the barakah will not be in my life because I have transgressed, because I have left and I have moved myself away from the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we sin, we move away from the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to have this conscious, this deep thinking about ourselves, about our Islam, about our Iman, about our position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, I would like to highlight a story that we all know, and we know it's very popular and it's circulated all the time. This story is about the boy and the king. I'm not going to say the whole story, but just to paraphrase the story and to show you what does it mean when you are being tested in faith, and how you have to react, and how you have to become in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the boy learned about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the monk, when he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he became stronger and he became blessed because of that. And when he went to the magician started to questioning his lateness because he became late every time he met the magician. And when he went to the monk and he told the monk the stories about how he is helping people and how he is healing people, the monk said, "You are better than me." And because of his conviction, because of his strength, and because of his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the ability that when he called upon Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered all of his prayers. Allah answered all of his calls. And when the huge beast came in front of the people in the pathway, and they went to the boy to ask him to help them, he called upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he hit the beast with the rock. The beast moved away. And he was able to heal those who were sick. And when they came to him, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal them, and they were healed. And when the king found out about this, about that he had faith in Allah, he had faith in one God, they started to test him. What did they test him with? They started to bring a saw in front of him, and they told him that they're going to cut him into two pieces. They started to drop him down a mountain, and he came back alive. And they tried to drown him with a boat. They went together and they tried to drown him in a boat, and he came back alive. And he went to the king and he went to the magician, and they were very surprised that he came back alive. Why did he come back alive? Because of his strength, because of the conviction, because of his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he was steadfast, because he was on the straight path. And he told them there is one way that they could defeat him. And that's only that way would be to have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to call upon Allah and to hit him with the arrow, and that would be able to penetrate his heart, and that's the way that he would be able to die. And that's what the king did, but there was one condition, which was to bring the people together. And the people had to be witness to that. And the people, when they witnessed this, they all became Muslims. And then all of them, they were being tested. Their iman was being tested. They brought them together and they told them, you have a choice. You disbelieve or you believe. And they chose. They chose to believe. And they dug a pit, and they put logs and wood and things like that, and they put a big fire, and they threw them inside that fire. But not for a moment did they disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the point of this? The point of this is to show you that there will be things in our life that will challenge us, that will really penetrate our inner core, that will really shake us, will shake our iman, will shake our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to be straight. We have to have strength, and we can never give up in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can never lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we always have to be steadfast. What happens when we are steadfast? What happens when we try our best to be in the path of Allah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. That there are people, they're on the straight path and they try their best to do good deeds, and they don't move from that pathway. When it's time for them to pass away, when it's time for them to meet their Lord, the angels, they descend upon them and they come to them. And they say, ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. And they say, أَلَّا تَخَافُوا, don't be afraid, and don't grieve, and don't have sorrow. And they give them the news, the glad tidings of paradise. And that can only be done when we are tested, and we have strength in Allah, we have faith in Allah, we have conviction in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we come back to Him in repentance. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us strength. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us steadfast. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us true. اللهم زينا بزينة الإيمان وجعلنا هداة المهتدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا
خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.